Screen recording is intended to show how to create a MIDI device panel in Cubase Pro 8. I'm going to create one for a MIDI interface that I built for the XOX Heart TB303 voice board clone. So I'm going to go to Devices, MIDI Device Manager, Install Device, define New, and I'm going to call it the XOX Heart. Every channel will behave the same, so I mark them in the identical channels box here when setting up the panel, because I don't care what channel it's on, it's going to have the same controls. I'll set the preset types to snapshots. I don't understand exactly the difference between channel and global settings, but I'll just select them both. And I think that should work. So I'll add a panel to one of the channels. It doesn't matter which, because remember, they're identical as marked before. I'll add a panel. I'm going to choose Inspector so that I can show the controls for my XOX Heart right here in the channel inspector when I have everything ready. So the inspector creates this little size, which is just enough to put the knobs for my XOX Heart. So I'll drop the first knob, and here, this is very important. This is the parameter that the knob will control, and it needs to be named and different than the other ones. And this is the way that Cubase is going to keep track of the number that I'm changing, and it's going to keep track of what MIDI to send when I change that. So I'll create one for the saw. This is going to control the level of the saw wave in the synthesizer board. And the way I built the MIDI interface, that is assigned to controller 70. Min and max are fine here. I'm ready to go. So I'm going to change the title of the knob to saw, and I'll save what I have so far and change it. And nothing happens because this panel hasn't been assigned to a channel yet. I'll create a new MIDI track. I'll call it 303. And I'll use as the output this XOX Heart. Now that hasn't been connected yet. Back here, I'll open that again. Back here in Device Manager, I need to assign that somewhere. It happens that my device is connected through MIDI to my Ozone controller, so I'll select that, and this should be good to go. My device is on channel 4, and there we go. I have this MIDI monitor over here open so that you can see all of the signals coming out of Cubase. I'm going to use the handy Step Designer insert just to have a pattern going, so that I can always, that's pretty annoying, but so that I can always try the device and see what's happening with it. I'm going to make it a little lower just so it's at least slightly less annoying. Okay, so back to the device panel. So now that my device panel is set up on a MIDI track, I can go and open the panel from the inspector of the track settings. And also, since it is an inspector type of panel, I can drop it. How am I going to do this? I have to actually go find the panel, but it's an inspector panel, so if I close this again, there's my knob right in the channel, and when I move my saw level, we can see the controller signals coming out on MIDI. So I'll play this a little bit, and by default the patch is set up where the saw is at full volume, but we can see now that hear now that the controller is starting to work. So back to the panel to add some more functionality. Click the edit button, and I'm going to add another knob. This one will be for the square label. Again, I don't want to control the same thing with this knob. If I just add that in there, I'll show you what happens. If I just add that in there, see, they both control the same parameter. This would be for if I had multiple panels controlling the same thing, maybe one in the inspector, one in a mixer, and a general panel somewhere else. You can see here that they'd all be synced together, but that makes no sense here. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I want to add one that controls the square wave level. So I'm going to create a new parameter. And it happens that the way I built the MIDI interface, square is on controller 71. I'll give it a title. And it really should be ready to test. Save that. Where are my notes? Oh, okay. Both wave types are set at minimum value by default. So here we go. A nice clean square wave. Okay, I'll keep going here. The next controller I want to set up is filter frequency. So I'll put a new knob, and as always, create a new parameter, and I'll call it frequency. Now I forgot to do this parameter correctly. Frequency is set up on MIDI controller 74. Yeah. And I'll give it a title. Give it a label, and I should be able to try this. Okay, save that. Cool. I have a controller for frequency that I can fully automate, etc. And onward. How about resonance? Grab a new knob. Create a new parameter. Resonance, which is set up on MIDI controller 2. Give it a label. I'll go ahead and add a few more here. So I built the thing to send, I need to create a new parameter, to send the envelope level control, so envelope, on MIDI controller 1. And I built it to send the accent level, which is nicely controllable by a pulse width on the board, to MIDI controller 11. Okay, and let me try this. Save. Control the frequency. How about some resonance? There we go. How about, oh, I didn't, that's envelope, and this is accent. Okay, let me go back and give those some labels. I forgot. Envelope. Accent. Pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to add a different type of control. I'm going to add a button to turn on and off the slide, the classic 303 slide. So I'm going to create, again, a new parameter, call it slide, and I hooked that up to, I think it's 65. which is called Portamento. Controller number 65. So what's going to happen with the button is that it's just going to send 0 when it's off and 127 when it's on, as I remember. Let me try this. Save it. And then I'm going to just look at what happens in the MIDI monitor over here. So on sends 27, off sends 0. I don't know why it's sending it twice, but that's not going to hurt. So now I can flip off and on. Ooh, I didn't give it a label. I can flip off and on what's called slide in 303 speak. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna right click and align these things so that they don't look so ramshackle. Line left, and then I'm going to also get each row top aligned. So it can be a little bit neat. I don't know where this should be, somewhere like that. And that's about it. So I can, this is an inspector panel. So I can just drop down and see the panel right here in the track inspector. And there we go. Oh, one last trick. So remember when I created the panel initially, I set it to be a snapshot for preset type. So let's say I got this to where I like that pretty good. Okay, so this little button with the plus sign saves a snapshot. I can call it basic fart 1, and now I have essentially a preset that I can recall. So say I go off and I make some other, like some heavy bass sound. I can just call it a square filled bass, and then I want to recall that basic fart. There it is. So as soon as I recall, I get all of the controllers sent out so that the machine is set up for everything to be as it was when I saved the preset. Cool, right? So I really like this pattern designer or step designer because I could really start to make something real. I can grab with setup, I can grab 2 controllers. If it was going to be like a 303, I guess you would pick accent and slide. So where's my slide? Portamento. So now this is let's see, I've got velocity and gate. This expression is really accent, so if I wanted to accent one note, cool. And I wanted to slide a couple. It's very 303-like. Cool. Okay, that's been my instructional video for MIDI device panels. Thanks for watching.